All right, President Trump has landed in Paris. The president is in France to celebrate Armistice Day on November 11th, which will mark the 100th anniversary of the end of World War I. And just before arriving, the president kind of ticked off, tweeted angrily about French President Emmanuel Macron, writing, quote, President Macron of France has just suggested that Europe build its own military in order to protect itself from the U.S., China, and Russia. Very insulting. But perhaps Europe should first pay its fair share of NATO, which the U.S. subsidizes greatly. Exclamation point, close quote. We'll continue to cover the president's visit to France, unscripted, always fun, throughout the weekend. Meanwhile, with the 2018 midterms finally over, you might have hoped that the left-wing protesters would finally calm down. After all, they got the House. But if you did hope for that, it was a foolish hope. In coordinated rallies across the country, last night protesters turned out to protest in support of Mueller investigation and against the firing of their new idol, Jeff Sessions. Talking heads in the press played along.
We now have a constitutional crisis within the constitutional crisis. We now have a state of emergency within the state of emergency. This has gotten very dangerous.
This is a national emergency. I don't think you can overstate the gravity of the situation. The broad public, this is the time to maybe take to the streets.
This is worse than Watergate.
He has been absolutely outrageous in the way that he has called names, outrageous in the way that he has threatened, outrageous in the way that he's promoting himself all the time. He wants to act like a dictator.
Get used to that voice for the next 2 years. Dan Bongino is a former Secret Service agent and NRA TV contributor. He's also the author of a brand new book. It's great. It's called Spygate, The Attempted Sabotage of Donald J. Trump. He joins us right now. So this guy's temporary. Matt Whitaker, he's going to be acting. The president's going to talk to a few people, make him attorney general, try to get him confirmed. Probably happen. What's the problem with Matt Whitaker?
There is no problem with Matt Whitaker, Brian. The left is an emotion-based move. They're a bunch of romper room kids. I mean, when are we going to learn as conservatives? I'm serious. To ignore these Looney Tunes. They move from one outrage campaign to the next. Today it's Whitaker. Yesterday it was Kavanaugh. Before that it was the travel ban, the immigration crisis at the border. It's an endless outrage campaign. There's nothing wrong with Whitaker. The fact that Whitaker made some commentary on cable news about a case everybody was talking about does not disqualify him from acting impartially. I mean, we just had Brennan and Clapper on cable news. Brennan accused the president of treason. Now, I want to make sure everybody gets that on the record, so now he cannot be appointed to a position in the future either. I mean, it's just another outrage campaign. Please, just ignore this stuff. It's nonsense.
So what they're saying is Whitaker's going to come in. He's been a critic of Mueller, saying things like the president's finances, as a commentator like you are, if you took office right now, they would roll up the Dan Bongino tapes and say, how can he do that? You said, well, I'm a citizen, and I'm allowed to have an opinion. Whitaker's a citizen. He's allowed to have an opinion. In his opinion, the Mueller investigation going to the president's finances is a no-go zone. Now he's in charge. And people worry that he's going to collapse the Mueller investigation. The president has held his tongue for 2 years, not his tongue, but he's held back on Mueller for 2 years. So why would he stop now?
You know what's hysterical about this? He had an opinion. So did Andy Weissman, who is Bob Mueller's chief pit bull, who emailed Sally Yates. We've seen the emails. He's investigating Trump now, congratulating Sally Yates for defying Donald Trump. Andy Weissman is investigating Trump. And I get it, everybody, oh, whataboutism. You're damn right it's whataboutism. Or you just told us that you're not allowed to have an opinion or you're conflicted. Weissman has an opinion. And on that matter with Whitaker, because I don't want to get off that topic, Whitaker said something perfectly practical. The Mueller investigation and the probe was designed to probe Russian collusion. There's nothing in there about Trump's finances or his business deals. That was a perfectly accurate and appropriate opinion. This is just another outrage campaign. Ignore it. Ignore these people.
Well, who do you think, or who would you like to see, and who do you think the president will put in that spot? Pam Bondi from your state. Yeah. I know the president really respects her. Chris Christie was in there yesterday.
Let me throw something out there. Some of the audience may jump back, but I would love to see Ted Cruz. You get a double whammy out of this. You get a solid constitutional conservative who will never fold. This guy is principled. We know it. We love him. Secondly, you get an open seat in Texas. The Dems will pour a bunch of money in there into fool's gold again. We'll get Beto #2. They'll waste all their money and time. They won't spend it in other Senate seats, and we win again in Texas. I think it's a great plan.
In your opinion, is the president looking back at the Whitaker controversy and letting it worry him in Paris today?
I don't think so. I mean, of course, he's probably paying attention to it, but the president's gotten very good at ignoring ridiculous romper room-like far left outrage campaigns. This is another one. It'll blow over by next week. These rallies are ridiculous. Anti-Sessions rallies. They were accusing Sessions of being a Russian colluder a few months ago. Now they love Sessions or pro-Sessions rallies. Even I'm getting confused about the left.
I was amazed because 8,000 people in New York got together to protest the firing of Jeff Sessions as if they're idle, if they could pick him out of a lineup.
Go to McDonald's, have a coffee, folks. Chill out with the outrage campaigns. Please take the weekend off.
You take the weekend off. You're in every show
I know,
today.
I can't. I'm up here. Plus, I heard you were guest hosting, so this was great.
I'm honored. Fantastic. And I'm so glad you didn't wear a tie. I regret wearing a tie.
I'm not wearing
That's
a tie.
how cool you
Ever
look.
Again. Fox, I'm sorry, but I can't do it. I can't even make a tie. My elbows are arthritic. So
That's
sorry.
right. Well, that's what happens when you do the UFC
excuse
thing.
I use every time.
Okay? Thanks, Dan. And thanks for your service.